Hey, what's up, YouTube? How you guys doing? Caused a little bit of a stir yesterday, huh? A little bit of dust going up, a little bit of noise. Thank you to all of you guys that obviously watched the video so far. I think it's still getting more and more popular by the hour, so that's a really kind of a cool thing to see. I've never actually had a video get this popular this quickly, so I had a feeling it might do something like that, but you never know. You can drop a video like that and people are like, yawn, boring. Some of you did give me that feedback, and that's fair. But I think a lot of you guys were definitely interested in it. Seemed like you were some of you were shocked, um, understandably, as I was as well. But I definitely want to just kind of dive into the weeds with you guys and just see, what did you think? What are your points of view on this? Lots of great comments, actually, and a lot of ones that were challenging some of my assumptions and some of my beliefs, and I do appreciate that. I do want to make sure that it's very clear, though, that if you're going to disagree or have some, critical feedback, come at me. I want it. Please do. Keep it respectful. With so many comments coming in, the minute there's a hint of anything that's like disrespectful or trolly, I'm just gonna not engage. I'm sorry. Or if it's really, really horrible, I'm just gonna block you. Okay. I gotta find the cream. Cream always rises to the top, right? In every conversation in every industry. So if you got something interesting you want to say, or if you got something that you didn't like about the video, or you disagree with me on, totally. I want to be. I'm here to be challenged. Like, being challenged makes me smarter. I see it as actually an asset to have people that can push back. But of course, being respectful is a must for me. I will require that, and especially when we have a lot of people that are on the internet, anonymous. They don't have their face or their name on a YouTube channel. It's a little more comfortable to say things that you probably wouldn't say to me in person. I've noticed that the few people that have come onto my channel and disagreed with me, Paul was a great guy just the other week, had a big disagreement with me about the fair use debate that we've been talking about in some of these videos. And anyways, he was very respectful in his comments, and so I invited him on the channel, and we had a nice hour-long talk about our disagreement. That's the kind of conversation that I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a whatever, a shooting gallery. You got to be kind of in the arena. That's what I'm saying. If you're not in the arena, that's totally cool. Like, if you're not on YouTube, I'm not saying you can't have an opinion, but I will definitely, if you have a YouTube channel and you're on there, and you have your name and face online, I kind of put you in a different category, meaning you're in the arena with us, kind of having a little bit more credibility for me. But if you're not there, that's totally cool. Just obviously keep it respectful. I obviously do appreciate that. But I did have a lot of great comments from many of you guys about, I want to also first of all be clear, and I hopefully was clear enough in that last video. It's not clear right now. Nobody knows if you can take a for-profit AI generative model and go train it off of copyrighted music without consent. Right now, we don't actually know if that's okay under the current copyright laws or not okay. At least I should say that's my opinion as a non-legal lawyer, right? Don't have any sort of expertise in that arena. But I can certainly tell you that, thank you for sharing the video too, Nishiz, appreciate that. And for everybody that was sharing this, obviously, really appreciate that. That's really cool. But we got to kind of out of the weeds, out of the sort of nitpicky of this and that. We got to maybe zoom out a little bit more. And right now, the courts specifically for copyright music, and I think for many different, for text and visual and video, we don't know actually how this is going to play out. If a fair use defense will actually fly in court, if Udio or other companies like them, if they're training off of copyright music, if they have to go get consent, they might not have to. And at the end of the day, my video might just be me complaining about a company doing something that I think is unethical, that I don't agree with, but it has no legal implications at all. That's a possibility, guys. We might be looking at that possibility in the near future. We also might be looking at a possibility where certain music rights holders, copyright protectors, do go after and file a lawsuit against a company like Suno or Udio or whoever, if they believe that they're training off of their data and not getting consent for doing so, and damaging their value in the marketplace, probably for specific use cases. That's why I wanted to give that specific use case in that video, which was like, generative AI model, call them X Music, trains off of universal music. Let's say this is hypothetical, and they take all of that high quality, like 1 million plus tracks, create their own model, and then go try to serve a TV film client, right? And basically undercut us, some of us that have music maybe in universal music, production music like a catalog. That seems to me, my non-legal opinion, a clear case of not using copyright law in a fair use manner. That there's definitely some damage, some harm being done to the interests of the copyright holders there. That's a specific use case that I can see there might be a vulnerability for their legal defense for fair use. So, but does that mean that they can't just do maybe, making music for people's social media uses where they're like, maybe they tighten up their filters better so they can't pump out what you heard in that video, and it's truly transformative. No recognizable voices come out of it, no recognizable melodies, lyrics, or chord progressions, or basically what sounds like reproductions of copyright music. And that could be argued as like, hey, we're not damaging anything associated with Mariah Carey or Wham or any of these other artists. We're basically making something completely brand new here. That might work in their defense, right? So I don't think we can sort of paint all of this with a big broad brush that it's all going to go one way or another. There might be just specific use cases where it goes one way for us and another way for AI generative companies. And when I say us, if you guys are new to the channel, I am a copyright owner. I am a copyright producer, creator, and it has been the reason why I've had full-time income with TV film sync licensing. Starting back in 2008 till now, I have over, I think it's 75, maybe closer to 8,000 TV placements in my career. Not new at this, been doing it for a long time. The primary purpose of this channel, if you guys are new, is to help you guys follow in my footsteps and give you the benefit of the wisdom for how to succeed with the TV film sync licensing industry if you want to. But of course, AI comes into the conversation and we have to reassess everything, right? That's what I think that's the sober, humble mindset of this is going to be disruptive. Also want to be very clear. Some people were saying, well, you can't put it back in the bottle. You can try to sue it all you want, but you're not going to stop the technology. Not me. I'm not the one trying to stop the technology. I don't know if that's a comment for me or anybody else. I think you'd have to be delusional at this point to think that AI is going back in the bottle and we're going to shut it down. Don't think that's going to happen. I don't actually want that to happen. I am actually pro, believe it or not. You might see that last video and think I'm anti-AI. I'm extremely, extremely pro AI. I think AI is going to do amazing things for us in all aspects, not just music. I think it can do some amazing things for us musically. That's why I left that last video with that really positive, like, how do we make sense of this, even if fair use sort of flies and they can train off of anything without consent, without payment? Are we just all done? Is it the end of our lives? Is it the end of our careers? Is it the end of the music industry? I don't believe so at all, but I think that's up to us. It's not up to them. It's really up to us and how we frame things and how we choose to embrace this technology. So I'm extremely, extremely positive on AI. Very, very productive. I think it's going to not only help us with our relationships, it's going to help us emotionally, psychologically, creatively, with our health. I think we're going to have some breakthrough medicines and treatments for diseases in the very near future. I think we have not even tapped the surface of what this technology is going to do for humanity as a whole. So I can hold these two opinions simultaneously. I'm not a hypocrite to say I'm pro the technology. It feels unethical that some of them are going and training off of very high quality copyright protected content that took a lot of human effort, and they're not asking for consent and not paying for that potentially. I don't like that. That's the part of this I don't like. I think there's room for us to grow with this technology with consent, because some companies have been asking for consent. OpenAI has asked for a lot of consent and licensing for a lot of its data. Doesn't seem like maybe all of it. That's why the New York Times is suing them. They think that they've been trained on without being asking for consent. But there are Google and Meta, as far as I'm aware, did pay to train off of, was it Pond 5 or Shutterstock or some of those other ones. So big tech companies are not all doing the same thing where they're just like, let's just go train off of anything and deal with it later. The big tech companies seem to be acting more responsibly than some of these smaller startups seem to, right? I don't have all the specifics and the details of it, but for those of you that are saying like, no, there's no reason they're ever going to have to pay for it. It's totally fair use. You're dreaming if you're ever going to win this. My question for you would be, why then would a Meta or a Google or OpenAI go out of their way to go pay companies like Pond 5 like large sums of money to train off of their music? Why would they go out of the way to do that? If you're confident they're going to get away with it, shouldn't they be even like way more confident, right? I think we should all be a little bit humble right now. We don't actually know where things are going to go. And the fact that certain companies are acting as if they should be asking for consent and paying for it, like literally putting their money where their mouth is, should give us some hope that there are at least some doubt. There's some people that are like, hold on, guys. If we're going to go train off of like hundreds of thousands of tracks, we got to have the receipts to be able to do that. We can't just go do that. We could be liable for something. Let's be very, very cautious. Also, for those of you that are concerned or convinced that AI will get away with the fair use, training off anything without consent, How do you explain that there was a recent interview with Sam Altman on it was All In podcast, great podcast by the way, but they had this whole segment about music, and they had this jukebox or juke deck back in 2020. They had kind of teased it and showed a little bit of what its capabilities are. In that interview, he's saying, "We're done with music. We've just given up on music." And because they were talking about likeness issues, copyright issues, he at least verbally says that he thinks that creators should get a piece of the upside. That's what he said to Congress for this generative new thing. So if they're, this is OpenAI is AI, right? They are the company we all think of when we're talking about AI. If the most confident, most impressive, and most profitable AI company, at least the biggest mover and shaker in this industry, is going, we don't want to touch music anymore. We're done with music. Where's their confidence then? Why don't they have confidence that they can just do this and they'll feel they get away with it? They're right now being lashed all over the place with lawsuits from everybody. I'm sure it's extremely stressful to do what they're doing. I really do hope, my optimistic side is to say, let's create partnerships. I don't hate Udio. I don't hate the people that work there. I don't hate AI companies. I really don't. I really want to work with them. I want to create more collaborative conversations. I want there to be a lot more transparency. I want us to figure out ways to go. We can use it. I can already think of amazing ways to use Udio's technology, but in a way that's ethical, in a way that can actually serve and help artists and songwriters and producers, and also compensate, songwriters and producers that they potentially maybe train their model on. And the last thing, of course, one of you guys made this aware to me. I need to double check this. I haven't looked at this for myself, but apparently maybe Udio has this thing in their terms of service that says that if you're going to publish tracks that you generated with them, that you have to credit them. Like, they're requiring you in their terms of service. Supposedly, I haven't looked into that. I will go look into that. But if that's true, and they're saying you have to credit Udio with the creation of the music, why don't they have to credit the artist that they trained off of, right? Doesn't that seem kind of hypocritical, or majorly hypocritical, where they're saying, pay us to get our premium features, right? We expect you to pay us if you want to use our technology. And if you use our music anywhere, publish it, you got to let everybody know that Udio gave it to you or helped you generate it. Okay, so if that's true, why aren't you doing the same thing for the music creators that you trained your model on? This seems to me like a glaring hypocrisy that you're not paying them. Maybe, are you? If you are, just come out and say it. Like, that's what we're all waiting for, right? Just come out, make a video, put it on your website and say, hey, a lot of concern, totally understand it. There's some ethical concerns as to whether or not we're doing this. Yes, we have, and here's what we've done. Here's what we've compensated. Here's how we did it. That would really quiet the noise quite a bit for them and get them out of the hot seat. So maybe this is going to be a push. I don't have high hopes or high likelihood that it will, but you never know. Maybe things will move in that direction. So let me get into some of your guys' chats and questions. And I see some new people here, some new names, some people that have been around for a while. So welcome to everybody. Yeah, Andrew saying I should get in contact with Mariah Carey's label and let them know. I'm sure they'd be interested to see your video. I thought about that, getting a hold of the direct copyright owners. I just right now don't. I'll be honest with you. I'm a father of two little girls. I'm at my limit for my bandwidth of what I can do. I had a buddy that I talked about this story with before we released it, and he was like, "Man, you got to go. Maybe you should go to 60 Minutes or go to some bigger outlet. It's a much bigger story." And I said, maybe not. I don't know. I don't have the bandwidth right now to kind of make this much bigger. Than I was like, I have a YouTube channel. This is what a subscriber brought to me. He's trusting me with his story. He's trusting me with his anonymity, and I'm going to trust that. And we're just going to move forward with this story on my channel. If this goes big enough of you guys maybe share it, I'm sure these copyright owners might be aware of this. And, I'm sure they'd love to know and see what's going on here. So. Yeah, Need Cheese is saying the main thing is not about copyright, it's about the evaluation of art. That's a whole other can of worms I can't get into, but absolutely, we're all concerned about that with computers starting to take over some creative efforts. Where does that leave us? Where does that leave art as a whole? I think we're going to be all right, but I do understand how concerning that is, absolutely. Yeah, and JMO saying, with the Mariah Carey Christmas sample, it makes you think that every song will need to be reviewed as how close. I think they have actually that, JMO, because I have tested it many times to see if it would generate something very close to copyright. And if you guys ever used it and maybe tried to do that, it'll take away the track, right? It'll say, sorry, error. It'll give you some error. It won't say that's too close to copyrighted material, but I think it says something like, whatever error, some error comes up and the track is gone. So there is a filtering system. What was interesting about what we found in that video is for some reason that filtering system was not enabled for those tracks. That is basically the exposure that we found. We found basically a little bug in their system that was not, blocking that out or sort of whatever, filtering that out. So that's really what the story was, is look what we found. This is interesting. What do we think about this? And what should the courts start to think about this? And, that I just wanted to get the conversation going because without the transparency, again, it's up to us. We got to figure out how we can get some transparency in this situation. So yeah, Jeremy, your comment is so common. I just want you to know that everybody is probably feeling this way to one way or another. I certainly have too. He's saying my whole life has been music technology and they cross over and I don't know how to feel about it. We are all in a weird space right now, man. We are all trying to figure out, is this good? Is this bad? What does this mean for us? What's our identity in the face of this AI music? All great questions. Nobody has clear answers yet. I'm trying to carve my way through all this craziness myself, live with you on this video and on this channel. We're gonna be on this crazy ride together. So I hope we stick together. I hope we kind of maintain our humanity for sure. Let's see. Mickey Majesty, do you think the rise of AI could be the rise of progressive and concept genre compositions? I feel like it's going to be important to push the boundaries of our brand. Yeah, I mean, AI is going to do some crazy, cool, weird, interesting things, which means we need to do some crazy, cool, weird, interesting things as well. And also be much more vulnerable and much more raw and much more transparent with what we're doing with our art. Go listen to what's going on most of the pop charts right now. A lot of it feels like we are also AI. We're kind of rehashing and recreating sort of like tried and true, done before a million times kind of songs. At least that's the vibe I get a lot of times when I listen to a lot of modern music. And when you hear something that just feels different and you're like, there's something about this. It's just going, I'm directly connected to the soul of the guy or the girl that wrote that song or the band. That's our saving grace. It's really actually each other. And music is not actually the thing that we want. It's the connection to the artist or the fan that we're actually looking for. That's really what's at the core of what we're doing with music. It's not music. Music is just the medium, but it's really the emotion or the story or the whatever that we really want to create direct relationships. If those relationships end up being rich for whatever, any way that we can, we are going to be some amazing, we're going to be in an amazing place creatively. I can tell you that as challenging as all this stuff is, I am more excited about making my own music now than I ever have in my entire life because of AI. Maybe I'll make another video on that. So I can tell you the reframe that I shared in that video. How many of you guys watched that reframe? This is not happening to us. This is happening for us. You can choose to have that reframe. You start to play with that little reframe, which is a one-word change in your mind. It's irrational. It's illogical. There's no reason it should work, right? This isn't like some study that you can go point to and like, this actually works. You got to just try this stuff for yourself. The minute you try it, the minute you start feeling a little bit more, maybe it's not all bleak in my future. Maybe there's some way I can use this. I'm finding much more positivity about AI in the long run. I think there's a place for all of us to get to that point. And I'm not expecting you guys to get there today, okay? If you don't feel that way, don't feel that way. If you're depressed, do you. Be depressed. I have had days, I have had nights where I don't sleep. I've had days where I feel depressed. I've had moments where I'm about to make music. I read a story about AI music and I get so defeated that I don't even want to make music that day and I give up for the day. I admit defeat. Being transparent with you guys, we're human. This has got to be a human moment for us to realize it's okay to take our time to figure out how we're going to move forward with this. I do believe, I have faith, and I have an optimistic future for all of us to be in. So I do want us to get there, and I'm going to do anything I can, including the video, to try to help carve that path into something that really felt like it's a future we can be excited about. Even in the worst case scenario, I feel hopeful and optimistic about our future. So at least that's what you're going to get from this channel. So if you don't want to hear any more about that, maybe you want to unsubscribe at this point. But you're going to get a lot more of that coming on soon. So. Oh, thank you, Mauricio. Appreciate that. Very happy. Yeah, and I obviously made the video, but it was my source that really obviously informed me of what was going on with this with Udio. So I'm not going to take all the credit that I sat there and I was smart enough to figure out how to prompt it the way that they did. So I'm not 100% to be thanked, but my source wants to be anonymous, so we're going to keep them anonymous. And then JMO saying, wouldn't publishers just generate AI tracks? I don't think they need composer for that if they plan on using AI tracks. Yeah, that's a possibility. I see that less likely. I do feel like publishers, especially music libraries, are kind of like our partners. And I'm not saying none of them are going to do it. I definitely know one. Won't be naming names, but there's one that's been the bane of my existence and many of our existence in this industry that probably would. But I think most of them are not going to do that. I think the real risk would be more that just like ABC Network gets an Udio, right? And they hire one kid or they hire a couple of people to start prompting them their own library for what they need. That's, I think, more the risk that I'm keeping my eye on for sure. So, right on. Melodic, Angie saying, especially you like the part bringing back genuine sounding music. Yeah. You're returning to all the music production over 20 years. I have to learn all this new technology. Yep. And I think some of us are going to want to be very mindful about the new tech that we use in our music, because just because there's a new plugin and a new platform and a new DAW and a new AI powered blah, 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 doesn't mean we need to use it. You know, like I know some of it's going to be really helpful and useful, but for me, I can tell you guys my line in the sand. So if there's anything that's starting to generate my music for me, leads, chord progressions, something like that, I probably am not going to be, I might test it out just to see what it can do, but I'm probably not going to use it, because that's kind of like automating my creative process away. You know, there's some things that I will. Mixing and mastering, to be honest with you, I will probably use an AI. As soon as it's really good, I've been using Ozone's. It's not that great. It doesn't get it as good as what I can do. But the minute that is better than what I can do, and I can literally click a button and it mixes and masters my entire track within a second, yeah, sign me up for that. I don't care if it's $1,000. I'll pay for that one, right? So there's going to be some things that I'm like, to me, the art of mixing and mastering is not that important. I just wanted the track to sound good. I'm really more, for me, it's lyrics, it's melody, it's chords, it's sonic creation, it's the track creation, that kind of thing. So just because something is going to make us faster and more productive, it's, you know, we got to be kind of really mindful now that we have so much technology at our fingertips and so many abilities to be more productive, which, you know, it's like that hustle culture that's so big right now. 10x your productivity. We just need to be mindful. Not everybody's gonna have the same solution. You guys not, you know, maybe some of you will use something that generates chords and you're like, that's fine. That's not something that I was really worried about anyways. Great, do it. I'm just telling you guys, I am gonna start being mindful about my own line in the sand of what I want to use and what I don't want to use. Because for me, suffering through my music creation is part of the fun, okay? So I don't have the joy of creating music if there aren't some writer's block. There aren't some moments where I'm like, this isn't working, or I don't know where this chorus is going to go and I have to keep playing with it until it goes somewhere. That's part of the joy of this. It's the exploration. It's the not knowing. So I don't want to outsource that part of it to a thing that can just solve that puzzle piece for me immediately. You know, it can do it faster, but is it robbing me of the joy of why I'm doing this? And it is also taking away something that's coming from within me that I want to share with the world. To me, the answer for those is yes. So I don't want to do that. Yeah, maybe music, see, hear, think is definitely say maybe human music becomes more complex, like classical compositions again. Possibly, because we've definitely been dumbing things down, let's be honest. Things are getting simpler and simpler. It's not all bad. I like a lot of new modern pop music and rock music, but yeah, auto-tune obviously is kind of the go-to thing now. The same old chords, that kind of thing. So yeah, maybe that's kind of what my best case scenario would be, is that we kind of see this as a Renaissance 2.0, where we break free of the over commercialization of music and we actually get back to it being an actual art form, an actual craft that supersedes commercial considerations, which we haven't grown up in that world. You and I grew up in the world of market your music, get signed by a label, go on tour, get on the radio, you know, you got to have an image and blah, blah, blah. We've been in this world of, you know, corporatization, I guess, of music. And so if we can break free of that, I think that's an interesting future that I would definitely like to be a part of. So I'm excited for that. In the future, artists will be the value. Wouldn't you want Hans Zimmer composing your film with a fresh perspective than an AI interpretation of Hans Zimmer? Yes, if I've got the budget to hire Hans Zimmer, JMO. It's a great point. But let's say I got $10,000 for my indie film. Hans Zimmer ain't going to work for $2,000 or $1,000, which is maybe all I got for music. And AI is there, and it's trained off of Hans Zimmer's music, right? Because maybe fair use it could. That's what I mean, and that's usually going to be the gigs that you and I are going to be passed over for, right? So maybe not Hans Zimmer, he wouldn't be doing a $10,000 gig, but you and I maybe would have been getting a gig like that. And so that's why this is kind of a really important thing for us to talk about. Right on. Akwashi is saying he agrees. He or she agrees. Sorry, I don't know. The human spirit will step up, and a whole nother level of authenticity and connection will happen as a rising to meet the changes. I hope so, man. That's what I'm hoping so as well. So, thank you, Chad. Glad that you agree on the optimism. The only thing I'm depressed is because we're letting this happen. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not. I don't. We are. Who do you mean? We are heading this happen. Also, remember, all this is out of our control. It's not like I sit here and I can press buttons on the law and I can be like, "Hey, this superior court or that Supreme Court rule this way." Like, I'm not controlling any of that. I'm not controlling how AI is doing what they're doing. The way I see it is like we've all got a little voice and a little role to play in this. This is my tiny little corner of the internet, right? I got this little channel. Put out a little video. We're talking about it. We're having these conversations right now. We're moving the needle. A big part of this, remember, is about narrative. Laws are created to serve human beings. Let's remember that first and foremost. The copyright law was not there to protect, let's see, back in the day, phonograph recordings and stuff like that. No, it's to protect the creators of the recordings, right? You get your sound recording copyright and you get your performing arts copyright, the musical composition. For those of you that are not aware, you get 2 copyrights for every song that you write, as long as you recorded it, right? You have it in a tangible medium. And this is created for human beings, right? So we can definitely do a lot of good for this by helping to create the narrative that if the current laws are not going to favor human creators and it's going to create a huge disincentive for us to really, how many of you guys feel this way? I'm about to probably release some of my own original music, which I've never done. I mean, I had bands way back in the day, but from 2008 till now, I basically only had my music in sync licensing. I'm really getting interested in releasing my own personal music online. Now the new thought I have to think is like, well, do I really want to just let an AI model train off of my music? I know that's very egotistical, as if my music would make the big difference. Totally not lost on me. But it's a thought. What about The Weeknd? What about Drake? What about Mariah Carey? What about, I don't know, what about Paul McCartney, somebody that actually has a huge status? What does that do to their incentive to want to create and release new music publicly, knowing that AI music is going to train off of it without consent? This is something that I think courts need to weigh and consider, that we have laws for humans. This is for human creations, right? This is what we have our laws for. They're not here to just follow abstract principles that we blindly follow to our own suicide. That is not what it's for. It is there to protect us and to basically create a sort of incentive structure for us to, monetize our music and create some sort of exclusivity with the rights that we have. So one way we can do what we can do is kind of help try to steer the narrative towards what we want to see for our future, which is consent. We don't want non-consensual training, especially on copyrighted music. Just reading more comments here. All right. Kef Shah, you like that, in the video I was talking about AI is not going to replace human creativity, but we will collaborate as a tool. Glad to hear that. Yeah, and that's going to be a different, some of you guys are going to agree with me right now. Some of you guys are not going to agree with me. Some of you are never going to agree with me. Some of you will eventually agree with me. And that's cool. I'm not trying to change anybody's opinion. I just felt like that last video, I didn't want to end it on a sort of like, just critical, like, look at this horrible thing, unethical thing, potentially crossing the copyright law thing that this company's doing. It's not my style. It's not my vibe. I really am very optimistic and positive. So I intentionally included a big segment at the very end of that video. It's like the last, 5 to 10 minutes of an optimistic future for us and that reframe. So that's definitely where I'm about. I definitely, I don't play the victim. I know I can have a tendency to do that from time to time, but I try to catch myself when I'm playing the victim, why this isn't fair and why, oh my God, I try to get out of that mode and I go into, all right, it's happening. Got to accept it. And it's not happening. I can choose to see, is this all happening to me and I'm a victim of it? Or is this happening for me and I can grow from it? Is this a challenge, right? If you go to the gym, you're not going to get buff and in shape by lifting the tiniest weights that don't cause any friction for you, okay? You've got to go to the heavy weights. You got to create a little bit of voluntary pain for yourself to grow, to develop, to get in shape, all that kind of stuff. I kind of think life is doing the same thing to us right now. It's throwing us some very heavy weights, very heavy challenges. So we can either run away from it, play the victim. Why? This was so heavy, I can't lift it. Or we go like, damn, this is heavy. This is going to make me stronger. I don't know how I'm going to get through it, but I choose to accept this. I choose to accept that this is going to be a part of my growth. This is going to take me to some new awareness, some new height in my creativity. I don't know where, but I have to, it requires faith, you know, because I don't have the answers for where this is going to go. So if you've got that just strength and that kind of inner voice that can help you right now to say, this is happening for me. This is not, I'm not a victim of this. This is going to allow me to grow and get and stronger and better and whatever. You can't lose. I don't like to play games that I can lose. I like to only play games that I can win at. And this is definitely a game that you can win at if you change that mindset. I can guarantee you that. Yes, see, hear, think. A great point here. Just turn the tables and use AI as a learning tool to hone our talents and take it further and rise above what AI can come up with. Here's one thing that I want to use, even something like Udio for. I don't want to use it because I don't know where they're getting the data and if they're paying for it. But if I could find an ethical, transparent Udio, here's what I would do. As I complete my songs, I'm going to go try to prompt an Udio or something like that, trying to basically tell it to make the song that I just made. So I'll use, you know, descriptors and tags and all that kind of stuff. And then I would literally use a manual mode and I would insert my lyrics into it. And I would say, have at it, Hoss. What's the best you can do? And I would like to compare. All right, this is the best that I can do. This is the best that AI can do. This is basically how chess has become so popular now because, you know, obviously computers can beat the best human chess player since the 90s. This is what the chess community is doing, is they're using AI to essentially train themselves, get really, really good, play a very, very tough opponent, and then go to play human to human. So they're basically making themselves smarter and better with it, and then using that tool and that training to go compete human to human. I really want to use it for that. It's going to be humbling because I know many times AI is going to do better than me. Meaning, and better, obviously, how is any of us going to be objective to say, all right, AI won, my music wasn't as good? We have to create for ourselves probably some categories of like, all right, like maybe memorability, emotional clarity, uniqueness. I don't know. You know, I'm still thinking about how I'm going to do that, but that's easily an easy use case that I would be like, it'd almost be my sort of quality control before I released a song. Because if I spent time on a song and then generated it with AI and AI was better and more compelling than what I was doing and I was honest about that, probably would table that one and move on to another track. I think that's kind of an interesting way for us to, like the chess analogy, use this for our betterment, for sort of a tutoring, you know, exercise. So. Lunar, have I heard today that Sony sent a letter to 700 AI companies demanding to know whether they've used their music for training or not? Oh, interesting. Ed Newton Rex tweeted it. No, I was not aware of that. Not surprising. Definitely, the labels and the major publishers has obviously been a little bit stronger lately and been asking for things. Now, just because they've sent a letter doesn't mean that there's any sort of compulsion for Udio or any AI company to have to divulge. Right now, there's no law in the books. There's a law that's being proposed that would force them to do it, but it hasn't passed yet. So a lot of this is about probably posturing, also, again, trying to create a narrative in the public eye. I remember with the Napster thing, it was like we were in this Wild West moment of like, is this legal? Is this not legal? And there was this big campaign that started going out of like, hey, if you're using file sharing networks, you're stealing from the artist. There was this big campaign to try to get the public, whether or not you win the legal battles, if you can win the narrative battle and get a big chunk of the population to reject it, to say like, yeah, this feels icky to me, I don't want to use it because I really like the artists that, you know, maybe train their model. You know, that's something that we can basically make a dent in as well. So I'm just looking for the lawsuits. I'm looking for the courts. That's, to me, the bigger play here. You know, letters and this and that, and like we demand this. Okay, that's you know, I'm not saying don't do it. Definitely do anything you can. Put up any roadblock you can or anything you can. But I think for me, what's going to make the difference is you're going to get some actual legal rulings that are going to sort of help clear all this up for us. Yeah. Pain is gain. There you go. Scott just simplified my entire speech to 3 letters, to 3 words. Well done, Scott. Yeah, music creator capable. Do we need permission to listen to other music only for inspiration? Yeah, and this is the most common pushback, feedback that I get. I'm like, hey, you think that AI is going to have to pay and get permission? That means that you, Jesse, or we, any of us human beings are going to have to pay. It's a valid point. I definitely understand that. And I actually was a little bit more leaning towards that side of this debate earlier on. Um, my point of view on this is that when you and I listen to music, music creator, we pay for it. Okay, so if you guys have listened to music in your life, in one way or another, you've paid for it. Hopefully you have. If it's streaming, obviously you're paying your monthly fee. If it's on YouTube, you're watching ads, or if you have the premium, you're paying YouTube for that, premium service like I do. I don't like any ads in my life. If you heard it on the radio, yeah, radio is free, but there's ads there, so you're paying it indirectly with your attention through the advertiser. So, that's one major difference is that human beings do pay for all the music that we listen to. We should, or you could just make the case that we generally have paid for more or less the music that we have trained upon. Okay, so that's obviously a huge difference. If companies like Udio are not paying at all, that obviously is a major difference there. So I think we should, that's not something small. That's something we should obviously be concerned about or thinking about. And then, of course, just the way that we listen to music and get inspired from it is linear. We can listen to one song at a time, and then we can create one song at a time, which is a painfully slow process. AIs are obviously doing that in a completely different way. So are they listening to a song linearly? I don't know. I'm going to get some AI experts on the channel to find out exactly how it's doing, but my instinct is that no, that's not what they're doing. They're probably just somehow feeding a lot of the links or the audio recordings into their model, and instantly, analyzing them and sort of making their text pairs and all that kind of stuff, all the crazy stuff that's going on in a black box that even AI data scientists don't necessarily fully understand. And they're able to generate, of course, unlimited tracks virtually, basically by prompting them in. So that feels, not necessarily maybe a logical argument, but that feels like superhuman capabilities that sort of doesn't put everybody on the same playing ground, right? Like I'm now no longer on the same playing ground as Udio. And that's okay in terms of if Udio just created a model and fed it like something in the public domain, like music theory, right? Nobody owns music theory, but it was like, all right, we're just going to take music theory, throw it in there, and out comes this amazing music that sounds like top 40 tracks. Okay, I got nothing to complain about. You just created the technology. You figured out a way to turn music theory into what we hear. You didn't use any copyrighted material to do it. I'm done. Like you win. You absolutely win, right? Like, that's just sort of like I'm cool with technology replacing previous paradigms and doing better. So I'm actually, that's why I have a career doing music licensing. I have a home studio with the internet connection, and that's the only reason why I can do TV film sync licensing. Those of you that want to get started with it, we replaced a lot of people's jobs. I don't go pay session players anymore for my drums, for my guitar, for my strings, for anything. I still pay for a vocalist. I still haven't gotten a fake vocalist yet that I like. But that's just sort of the march of technology. Difference with all of that, though, is if any of these, my keyboard here, my computer, my DAW, if any of that was created relying on copyrighted information, I do believe that puts us in a different category. So maybe that sort of gives you a little bit my touch on it. Again, not an expert. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe they will totally be, hey, nope, humans don't have to ask for consent to learn. So then, therefore, AI don't have to either. It could go either way. I don't know. Obviously, you guys know I have a bias here, okay? I'm very aware of my bias. Sync licensing has been a part of my identity. It has been my full-time income. It's been the source, the entire focus of this entire channel. So, I would be kidding myself if I'm not aware that I obviously have a bias that I want to hold on to human creativity at the core of sync licensing. So I'm very aware of that. And I'm actually doing everything I can to actively get out of that bias and actually argue for the other side. Many of you guys that disagree with me, stay tuned to the channel. Next week, I'm probably going to be arguing your side, actually, and I'm doing it in a way to try to challenge myself. Again, I want the feedback. I want the criticism. I want all that good stuff respectfully, because that makes me smarter. It makes all of us better prepared for a future that's uncertain right now. Just looking at some more comments here. Yeah, senior digital marketing about the open source concerns. Another can of worms. I'm not fully educated or know enough to even comment on that. But yeah, let's say even if we are to win this battle and say no, you gotta ask for consent if you're going to train off of a for-profit model. Who's to say some kid in India doesn't create an open source Udio and they do this? They actually do train off of copyright music, and you just they hide themselves. You can't find it. It's just like whack-a-mole. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming one way or another, guys. I hope that what I'm saying here isn't giving you hope that we are not going to have a future with AI music. That's not my point of view. AI music is coming one way or another. And I'm just trying to help in my tiny little way steer it in a direction that I can be hopeful and optimistic about it if I can do anything about that. But even if I can't, I still think that we're going to be all right. Those of us that really want to do, go bigger and bolder and braver with our creativity, I still think there's going to be a future for us. And I still think that we, all of us, 60 watching here, by the way, I appreciate if you guys leave a like if you haven't, that we will want to create and listen to each other's music. I don't think that's going away just because something like Udio exists. I don't think that sort of takes away us, our creativity, or I need to have this social art form between ourselves. Yeah, Swoosh Dutch. It will replace mediocre artists at best. I have a video on this channel, it's probably about a year old now, which says that AI will probably replace 50% of sync licensing producers. I have a sync licensing channel here, and I told my subscribers 50% of you are done. Okay, so I'm not somebody burying my head in the sand over this to think that everybody supplying music to the TV film industry are creating amazing, beautiful artwork. I have reviewed thousands of tracks at this point from all the members we've had in our platforms, and we have a feedback service. I've got a front row seat to large swaths of newbies coming into sync licensing, wanting to supply some high quality music for this industry, and it's probably 5 to 10% of them that have something that's like A plus. I don't really have a note to give you. Just go get this into a library. You're going to do some great things in this business. Probably 20 to 30, 40% are like good. You need to improve a couple of things, just basically hone in your skills a little bit. And a large number are, maybe AI music does need to kind of step in and help us out a little bit here because music is way more, and I'm sorry, that sounds very judgmental. I'm just being honest. I review music now for my job, essentially. And not that I'm some arbiter be all of like, I know what great music is and whatever, but doing this for 16 years, I know what flies. I know what doesn't work. I know what libraries are going to say yes to. I know what they're going to say no to. I know what I have made mistakes on thinking I'm going to create something amazing. And then libraries are like, yawn, not interested. Okay. That's essentially one of the services that I provide for our members. But I forgot my train of thought there, but making music is easier now. So a lot of people that, should they be making music? Maybe it was more of a hobby and they thought they could turn it into some income. Maybe that's not necessarily they need to be wasting their time with anymore, and they need to go find something more productive. That's definitely going to be true. I still hold on to that prediction. I think 50%. It's sad, and it's not going to be a fun day when we start seeing people. But I'm already seeing people bail now, though. I'm already hearing from people that I know. Maybe not bail, but basically say, I don't really see a future anymore. I don't know. It's too uncertain. I don't know if I want to devote any more time to this. The stories are already coming in now. So that's why I'm talking about this stuff. I don't want to hide from this. I don't want to pretend like it's not an issue. And I definitely don't want to just be the guy that's like, no, guys, rah, 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 sync licensing all the way, and AI is never good. No, come on. Let's just be humble and honest that we're going through something right now. And a lot of us, myself included, are struggling with it to figure out, do we have a future? How do we navigate this? What can we do? I just want to dive headfirst into these kind of tricky conversations. So Alpha, you're saying 11 Labs is coming with no copyright material. So let me know, how do you know they don't have any copyright material? Because I've looked into that a little bit, and from what I can tell, they are not revealing their training data. So go ahead and comment now. Let me know if they've revealed that they have no copyright data. I would love to know that. I'd love to look into that. Yes, and Yele is waiting for Sync Up. We were, like 3 weeks away now? We got our in-person event coming up on just June 1st and 2nd. That's going to be a lot of fun, where we're going to have library CEOs and many members are going to be hanging out, grabbing lunch together, getting coffee together, and learning a lot about all this crazy stuff. And of course, the biggest thing with Sync Up is we're going to ask library owners, what do you think about AI? How are you preparing your catalog? Do you think your catalog's been trained off of? Have you been approached by AI companies? And spoiler alert, many of them already have. So very, very important things. We're going to get some sort of up-to-date, really, really cutting-edge updates on what's happening in our industry right now from 7 library CEOs. So it's going to be really cool. Stock music for sure, Dermot. Yeah, it's going to be, I think, mostly disrupted, replaced by AI. Yeah, because stock music is cheap, but AI music could be even cheaper and even more useful in some ways. So I do think that... I think you're absolutely right about that. Stock has been, I saw that last year. I was like, boy, if I was making my living with stock music right now, I'd be pretty concerned, because I think it was Pond 5 was the first one where they were suddenly getting like new earnings called data set, trainings. And a lot of the members were like, oh, cool. Thanks for the $20. What was this for? And they find out that was that was either Meta or Google, one of the two, that were training off of them. And a lot of them were not really happy to hear that, which I wouldn't be probably either, because they weren't given the opt out. That's what this is all about. It's about consent. That's what that video yesterday was really all about. I'm fighting for consent. I'm maybe not happy that a Google or a Meta paid Pond5 a one-time fee to train off of all their music to create a competing tool. But if it's two consenting parties, I got no business with that. I have no beef with two consenting parties deciding how they want to move forward with it. If Pond5 wanted to just take the check and be like, whatever, maybe it's the end of us, we're just cashing out on our way out, that's their decision to make. That's not my decision to make. But if there's no consent, it feels unethical. It feels very unethical to me. So I'm still waiting for you, Alpha. I'm sure you're doing the research right now. Let me know how you know that. And these are the things, and I'm not trying to pick on you, but I think all of us need to be a little bit more cautious about saying things like this if we don't have the research. Maybe you do, and maybe I don't know for sure. My brief little research into them showed that they have not revealed if they have copyright or not. But I think we all need to be, before you type something or put a comment out there or make a video or whatever, we got to be very just like, hold on, we don't really know. There's a lot of this stuff, most of this stuff, all of this stuff, we don't really know. So we got to be kind of critical of it. We need to use some critical thinking, not just buy into the, one of the things that I was kind of trying to maybe push against the narrative in the last video was this idea that they say, oh, well, generative AI models don't store any data. How many times have we all heard that, right? Okay, let's take them at their word. You don't have Mariah Carey's song, All I Want for Christmas Is You, in your data set. Let's take your word at it. How did it do that then, right? If you say there isn't a song stored in there and there isn't recording, or there isn't like the melody stored or something like that, how is it able to reproduce what it reproduced without specific data? Let's say that they have an algorithm, right? But that algorithm can reproduce, it sounds like Mariah Carey's song using a different vocalist. So is this just a distinction without a difference? You don't have any data, but you can still act like a jukebox, right? Does not seem like it's, maybe AI models, we should think of them more as modern day, very complicated and interesting jukeboxes rather than something more human-like. I don't know. These are just good questions, and I don't go to an AI company to learn about, especially an AI company that has every incentive to not pay for copyrighted material. I'm not going to go to them for their expertise on this. They've got a bias, I've got a bias, and I know what their bias is going to want to tell me. So I want to question everything. I don't want to believe anything anybody's saying right now. I want to question, think for it all for myself, and look at evidence. Just look at what we can find. So let's see. Still waiting for that follow-up. Okay. Wait, no, Alpha. I was looking for the follow-up on if you could tell me. Alpha, I'm looking for the follow-up on, you said that 11 Labs does not use copyright music. Give me the follow-up. You made a claim. I got to get the evidence, bro. Yeah, Splice is certainly potentially in trouble. They're using AI on their platform, so maybe they're going to be trying to adapt and adopt this kind of stuff to stay relevant. We'll see. Again, the companies that are adopting it and using it probably will maintain some relevance. So, got it. Okay, so Alpha is saying, yeah, you can assure that neural networks do not store music in the same way GPT doesn't store books and Midjourney doesn't store paints. So, one thing, Alpha, I don't know if you follow the New York Times lawsuit. The New York Times lawsuit, if you look into it, they were able to prompt to get ChatGPT to spit out whole segments of their copyright protected articles. Now they had to creatively do it. It wasn't just like it said, hey, give me a New York Times article. So I'm assuming you're right. They're not storing anything. How are they able to regurgitate, reproduce word for word? And in my situation, it was like you heard the lyrics, you heard the note progressions, the rhythms of those notes, the underlying chord accompaniment. How is it doing that if it's not storing something that can point to that? And it's more of a question. It's not necessarily I have it figured out. I'm just saying they're telling us they don't store anything. Okay, is it an algorithm then? Is it like, what is this? I need to get better educated on it. But it doesn't matter if it's storing or not if it's able to spit out copyright protected, what sounds like copyright protected music, right? That's a question here. Right on, James. I appreciate it. Let me know what you disagree with, man. I want to hear disagreements, obviously respectfully. So James is saying he's subscribed even though he disagrees. Awesome. You're exactly who I want to have here, man. Let me know which part you disagree with. I'd love to talk about it. Oh, Jeremy's asking, did you get a copyright claim on any of the Udio Christmas songs? That's a good question. I haven't seen that yet. Let me see. Check it out right now. I think it would say there right on my dashboard, right? Nope, no restrictions. So hasn't heard it yet. Yeah, at least and I think it would have by now. I mean, I've had some videos where I play something and it's like, oh, that's copyright protected. It's like, okay, cool. Yeah, Dermot's saying I think there will be something like what Adobe Firefly is for pictures, but for music soon. Universal Music Group may be training its own database or something like that. That'd be very hard to fight. Yeah, and that's kind of something that I'm not really mad at, as long as Universal Music Group also includes their writers, right? The songwriters, the producers, in a revenue share if that model. So basically, one cool way that could work is that you have, let's say, your human created catalog. Universal has 1 million tracks, whatever. But on top of that, they now have this new AI plugin, which has been trained off of their own music, which they have the rights to do. I definitely, even that should go ask for consent from their writers and composers and producers. And there will be some that maybe are cool with that, some that are not. But if a supervisor, a music editor, somebody cannot find what they want from the human music, they can just click on this generate thing and get what they need. I have been told also, one thing that I'm questioning, I've been told by a few data scientists, there's no way you can trace who influenced the output of any particular track in a model. There's too much music, there's so many different elements, and it's just impossible to untangle. Turns out that's actually not technically true. There are ways to actually, using this way beyond my pay grade, but a game theory concept where you can basically assign value for all the different elements that go into an output. It can be generated. It's very costly. It's not easy to do. There are definitely limitations. It's not like a slam dunk easy thing you can just plug into it, but it is possible. And even if you don't have something that sophisticated where you can say, hey, Yella, your track took 2% of this one or 5% of that one, whatever. There are other things you can do. You can have other revenue share models that might not be 100% accurate, but they at least do share a piece of the pie of this new generative model. Also, the other cool thing would be, let's say Universal Music just has a new model that anytime a supervisor or a music editor wants to use a piece of music, but it's not the right exact fit for their placement. So it's like, it's a 45-second hip hop song. They need it to be 23 seconds, and they also need to add horns to it. They're like, I like this. Some horn stabs would be amazing. Just cut it down to 23 seconds. And there's no alt version that's like that. There's no horns in the track. AI remix, prompt it, use this track, but add this, cut it down to this length, blah, 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 blah. Here's your perfect piece of sync music, created by a human, altered by AI, credited back to the human composer, credited back to the publisher. Why would any of us be mad at that? To get us more placements, to make our music more useful? I'm excited about that. I'd be really like to see that kind of a thing added onto our arsenal of tools that we could use. So. If JMO's asking, is there a nail in the coffin we should be looking for? No, I think we're going to just get my prediction is you're going to get one day you'll get a battle that's like, hey, this is something that helps us. And then another day you'll get something that's like, it's not really for us. So I don't know if there's going to be like a one day we triumph or one day we all lose. I just think that you're going to kind of see these back and forth of some ways are going to look more promising for us. Other ways are not going to be so promising for us. So I don't think there's going to be one thing. The courts for sure, rulings, legal courts. And of course, if it ever gets to the Supreme Court, those are the days to watch out for your newsfeed and get your popcorn, because that's going to be a big deal for sure. So. Okay, Alpha's kind of trying to explain it, but it's a little bit hard. Yeah, and I am going to get some experts on here to kind of help explain it to me, because I'm definitely a newbie at the AI generative stuff to figure out how it works. So. Right, so Swoosh is saying it's the same way you can remember how to play a song without storing an actual copy of the music in your brain. Even that's a little bit vague, because I don't have a copy of Mariah Carey's song in my head. but I can recreate it, right? And if I'm not careful on how I recreate it, I would be committing copyright infringement, right? So I get what you're saying, but it has the capability of doing that. And if there aren't proper restrictions on that or filters for that, which is what we showed that there weren't filters for those ones, this is where the danger starts to come in. And how many of you have prompted it and heard very familiar voices, maybe even lyrics or melodies? I have, probably you guys have as well. So it anyways, we won't keep going to that one, but. Epidemic Sounds, yeah, definitely going to impact them as well. People are definitely going to create a lot of their own songs. And even people that are on social media, you're going to start to see like YouTube, Meta, TikTok already has it where it's like, hey, you're putting out a short, you're putting out a video. Do you want some cool music behind that? What kind of music do you want? I think that's why Google and Meta and TikTok are investing in these kind of companies because they want to just have their own music user-friendly for them. So it's one less pain point for you to create really compelling content. You can just click a button, it generates some sort of backing track for your video, with or without lyrics. Yeah, Mary Malone, thank you. You're starting with Sync, and you might be thinking it's time for Plan B. I appreciate that, and I respect that decision. I still think that there's great opportunity in this business for people that create their own music. If you're using loops or generative AI stuff in your music, forget it. Yeah, don't even waste your time. Do something else. But if you got some great, amazing music and you write it, there's still an amazing opportunity because even if AI comes in and starts disrupting us, taking over a lot of our opportunities, royalties, as long as your tracks are on the air, are going to still pay out for years and years to come. I'm still getting royalties for stuff I got placed in 2010 and even before. So we're not, it's not like they're going to shut off the royalty train. And we actually just got paid this morning from BMI. They're not going to shut off the royalties just because AI is starting to creep into the industry. So let's say it takes a couple of years, maybe 1 to 4 or 5 years before AI starts to creep in. There's still plenty of time to get a good number of placements out there to get some royalties going. And as long as those tracks are on those TV shows that air in syndication and maybe other networks and maybe other territories and countries, passive income can come for many, many years down the road. I don't think it's likely at all that they would go scrub all the human-made music off of their programming and try to insert AI music to not have to pay any more royalties. I think they would face some massive, massive legal problems and lawsuits for doing that. So I don't see that as a likely outcome. Not saying anything's impossible. But so I don't think it's worth not going for right now, but only go for it if you write 100% of your own music and you've got some really high quality stuff that you can throw this industry. It's very saturated. There's a lot of people getting into it, thanks to mostly COVID and maybe somewhat me. Sorry guys. And there's a lot of people talking about sync. It's not just me, but definitely I have one of the maybe more prominent voices here. So I'm certainly to blame. So I do apologize for that. Mickey's saying, I feel like sync is not in trouble. I find it hard for major brand placements to have lackluster elements to their branding. Stay tuned till next week. I tend to want to agree with you, but we do have some vulnerabilities with sync. Mostly in the background instrumental, not really noticeable music, which is my entire career, has been my entire career. Probably 60 to 70% of the music you hear on TV is usually stuff that's just sort of playing back there. It pays. I'm not saying, it's not valuable, but just because non-copyrighted music like AI music could result in some lawsuits, that's not enough of a reason for major cable companies and networks to not use it in certain use cases. I'll talk about that next week. I won't spoil that now. So. Yes, Dermot saying like, imagine artists selling high quality custom AI models with their style of music in the future. I really want like the Beatles. Like imagine this right now, guys. Imagine the Beatles, the estate that owns. Is it Michael Jackson now? I don't know who owns it. Who's controlling them now? Didn't they get it back? I don't know. Whoever owns it created their own Beatles AI. And imagine you and I, and they obviously did it, so they're controlling it. They can charge whatever they want to charge, and they can charge a huge premium to do this. I think they should. But imagine listening to those songs in that video yesterday. I was kind of like, this is kind of cool that you can hear Beatles songs from back in the day that never existed. But imagine like if I wanted to, give my daughter a happy birthday song or had to write a custom song for them, and she loved the Beatles. And I was like, oh my gosh, guess what I got for you? And I pay for it. The Beatles gets the payment, and I create a new song using the Beatles likeness and their voices and their music, and it's lyrics just about my daughter, and it's just gonna brighten her day. And it's just like, I think that's a really cool use of technology. It's transformative, it's new, it's exciting, and it respects the copyright owners, and it puts money in their pocket and it gets consent. The first artists that start doing that, I know that, what was her name? Grimes did it, but I mean, let's be honest, who wants to use Grimes' voice? I mean, no disrespect, but she's not like the most in-demand vocalist that everybody wants. But I'm glad that she did that. But, you imagine if some very popular artist created their own white label version of this kind of stuff and charged you and said, hey, you want to come make a song with my voice? They can still have the right to take it down if they don't agree with the lyrics you use. You can kind of work all that out, but I don't know. I think that's kind of a really exciting use case where we can, we have to provide the solutions for this. That's what I'm trying to say. The music industry needs to come in, like Apple did the iTunes store. We were basically, the record labels in the industry had no solutions for Napster. They were just suing their way out of it. And Apple said, hey, we'll create something that's legit. You pay for it, you download it, it's safe, it's reliable, and it's fast. Thanks, Apple. You saved the entire music industry. That's what we have to thank Apple for. Let's not wait this time for a tech company to save us. Like, why don't we become the saviors of our own, and we sort of steer this where we want to go? That's my entire philosophy in a nutshell. Yep, live music is definitely going to be more valuable for sure. Is there AI-proof segment of sync, custom ads, trailers? Trailers even not so much, I don't think. I think possibly, kind of depends. I think what we're going to see, JMO, is, as I've been predicting for a long time, the premium organic section of music is going to go into the national campaigns, ads, promos, more featured placements. That's where they're going to want to not probably mess so much with the AI non-copyrighted music. They're going to want to have something that's been cleared and licensed and secured, and they can feel confident, because those are the ones that are really, really noticeable, the ones that could, probably get the most damage out of them if somebody were to sue for it. But background instrumental music, some of my royalties for that, guys, is like a penny, less than a penny. I mean, some of it's much more, but those are not the big money makers. So yeah, as I've been saying, we have an AI proofing course essentially in Sync Academy, trying to get you guys prepared for that day, to get out of background instrumental anonymous, I don't want to be known, to you are an artist now. You are in the spotlight. You need to be more bold. You need more public facing. You need to use social media. You need to be out there a little bit more for supervisors, for editors, for maybe not so much editors, but for libraries and for publishers to really notice you and to want to feature and help break you, right, and help get you some exposure. So, okay, so Senior is letting me know that Paul McCartney regained the copyright to the Beatles catalog under the U.S. Copyright Act. Wow, interesting. I'm going to look into that. I didn't know that was in play there. So anyways, thank you guys so much. Appreciate you hanging out and sharing that video. Obviously, we're going to probably do a sort of a post-mortem. I don't know, maybe next week. We'll see. I definitely want to have a more dedicated, maybe edited video of like all the points of feedback and criticism and stuff, because I think it's a really good conversation. Just keep this ball moving. So appreciate it. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and talk soon.